It's the DNVR Avs pod right inside that Toyota lounge. Of course, big thank you to our local area Toyota dealers and the DNVR Avs pod brought to you by Bet365. More on them later because I'm loving them right now, by the way, Rudo.
Making the money.
I am loving them right now. I am so excited for football later and for the NHL regular season to start kicking off here real soon because I'm going to be throwing down some big Bet365s on some hockey props for sure. We got a fun one for you today. First of all, by the way, coming up very, very shortly, we've got all the preview videos for you. So we've got divisional previews, and then we've got a deep dive on the Avalanche. So forwards, defense, goaltending. We talk a lot about where we sort of think this is going to play out this season, but glad to have you with us in the Toyota Lounge. Nick Gismondi, Big E, Rudo with me, revisiting last night's game against Utah, a 6-3 loss. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to start and jump back a game because we heard from Coach Bednar last night, and something interesting that I heard him say was that what he really loved was the way that the team competed predominantly in that game against Dallas. Yeah. Across the board. Against a real good Dallas lineup, by the way. They threw a lot of NHLers at a not-so-NHL Colorado Avalanche team. And he thought the performance was fantastic. And then we'll get into the fact that he thought the performance last night not very good. So let's start with Dallas. You saw a little bit of it. What do you think, Rudo, was the difference between those two games?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a little bit of that is there are guys fighting for spots. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest, in this most recent game against Utah, Russ Colton doesn't need to fight for a spot.
Right.
Miles Wood doesn't really need to fight for a spot. Logan O'Connor doesn't need to fight for a spot. Those guys were not going 100%.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You don't need to. Okay, great. Love that for me. You don't need to be going 100% when you have your spot locked up. So there is a little bit of that. But it also just kind of showed that we're into game 3 of preseason now, and some of these guys are starting to get cut. Real cuts are being made by the Colorado Avalanche at this point. And, maybe some of the guys on the other night thought that maybe the writing was on the wall, that they were headed down and weren't fully in the game or whatever it was. But certainly in that Dallas game, you saw an Avs team that felt like they had something to prove, as opposed to the other night where it didn't feel like that.
I agree with you again. I'm never going to dig too deep into a preseason game. I won't. That's why I hate preseason. I've made it clear, and I'll make it clear again. I don't like it. Do I think it's important? Yeah, I think it's important. You got to play a game or two. It just drags a little bit. Even though they're down to 6 games now, it's not a lot. But it's preseason. For me, it's a little different for people. If you're a veteran player, like you just said, Logan and, Colton and Wood and, which was your top line last game, right? You know what I mean? Yesterday, it was your top line. You're going to set the tone on how the game's going to be dictated and, how it's going to be played. And you're the veteran guys. And, at the end of the day, it wasn't their best outing. I get it. I've been there. I'm not blaming, not throwing daggers. It is what it is. It's a Sunday night exhibition game. I mean, It is what it is. So, and then it trickles down the lineup. So now what it does is now where it's different, it's for the guys trying to make an impression, the guys that are trying to make the team, guys that are trying to open the eyes of Jared Bednar and the staff. It's not a preseason game. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. You got to bring out there. You got to elevate your game. You can't be a passenger. You can't just go out there and then all of a sudden blend in. And if that's the case, and I think Bednar was, in his presser mentioned it a little bit, like, yes, some guys are playing themselves out. I mean, because that's reality. You don't have time, like an O'Connor and a Colton and the Wood, to say, oh, it's just a preseason game. It is for those guys. It's not for you. And that's the disappointment I had yesterday from that game. Not the result, not the whatever it is. It's that some guys just blended in, and it is what it is. And then after that, you go, I didn't get my opportunity, and didn't get my shot. And I don't believe in that. I think you make your shot.
Not the time to blend into a
for
roster.
Sure. And look, I'll say this. I'll be the first guy to tell you, preseason game results do not matter.
No.
But from a fan perspective, from a have a little bit of pride perspective, the Avs went 0-3 in the rookie tournament, and they're 0-3 in preseason now.
That's my point.
Does a win matter? No. Do you still want to see them win? Yes.
You know what?
Hold on, I'm gonna fix what you just said. Do you want to see them battle and compete? If they win, great. If they don't, then at least they battle and competed like the game in Dallas, which was a distinct difference from yesterday. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
The first period was a good
Sure.
period of hockey. It wasn't necessarily like
I agree.
gangbusters.
Yeah.
Was I like hanging off the edge of my seat expecting amazing things to happen? No, but it was a good first period. We'll take this period by period because it digressed significantly over the course of 60 minutes of hockey. But the first 20, the first 20 had their moments, and let's start there. What stood out to you in period number one? Ended in a 1-1 tie.
We're gonna get to the good things, but I have to say this again, and people are mad at me for being so annoyed by this, but the preseason is supposed to be a warm up for the regular season, right? Mm-hmm. And I understand that you can't just not call penalties. Mm-hmm. But oh my God, can we play some 5-on-5 hockey?
I know.
It's so bad.
Hey, the elements were all
So
there.
bad.
Like you said, no flow, tired, been a long week or so. I get it. But if you're a guy trying to make an impression, that goes out the window. You got to fight through all that. It's life. But I agree with you, so I'm not mad at you.
But to get into the actual first period, I think the most Avalanche thing that felt about it is the Avs were moving pucks up the ice quickly. They were through the neutral zone fast. Their defense were not just activating with their feet, but looking for those crisp stretch patches through the neutral zone. And you saw this was the one period where it felt like the veteran guys, that Colton line, were actually giving it a full effort. And they get rewarded for that. They end up scoring, the Miles Wood ends up scoring the 5-on-3 goal for the Avs. Great. Those guys looked good for the one period that they were actually going full bore in.
Good hunk of time on that 5-on-3 too. They had when that 5-on-3 started, they had a minute 43.
Yeah.
With a 2-man advantage. I was like, oh boy, you got to bury one here.
And it ends the way it should. It's not a funky goal. It's a tap-in goal for Miles Wood net front off a nice setup play.
It was a
So
nice
good.
play.
You showed the skill you needed to if you're that line. And you go through the rest of that lineup, and I thought there was effort there. I thought they were winning puck battles consistently in that first period. I thought people were jumping up into the play and making good reads. But you also saw a team that, beyond that first line, is still very raw. There's still a lot of work for some of these guys to do.
One of the odd things about yesterday, too, that we forgot to touch on at the very beginning, Utah was very late to the start of the hockey game.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, I've been covering hockey for most of my life. I've never seen a team not on time for warm-ups.
Come out with 5 minutes left in the warm-up.
Well,
And
Yeah.
it happened in Pittsburgh, too, though, last night. Or in Detroit.
but that's
Pittsburgh
why
didn't make it to Detroit.
That's why in the regular season you don't travel day
On
to game,
day of game.
because you can't. You
Sure.
got to get fined, and it's a hefty fine. And
Yeah.
again, now no teams are traveling the day before in preseason now. I mean, or if they are, it's because they're on a little bit of a road trip, whatever it is. But for the most part, teams travel the game day. It is what it is, and so that's why everybody's accommodating. I'm sure the league didn't do anything about it. It's life. There's stuff happens, and the planes are late, and it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, they didn't use it as an excuse. I mean, they just kind of went out there, found their legs, and found their game.
Played well.
Played well.
Yeah, I really don't have any problems with the first period and the way things played out. I know we're going to talk about Cal Ritchie later, but his first period was not the best.
We'll talk about Cal Ritchie in a little bit. That wasn't necessarily the game that he needed to have. I was, however, encouraged in the third by a very flashy, confident goal.
Yep.
And, when we talked to him after the game, that was put a smile on his face. That might be the first time I've seen him smile since we've started to get to know him. But, yeah, I think across the board, there are guys when you watch a hockey game, and I sort of – last night when I was watching the game, as I'm getting to know some of guys trying to make the team's numbers. Flip the roster over, and I was just like, who stands out? I didn't want to know who was who necessarily.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of see who maybe jumped off the page at me, and who I thought really kind of was noticeable and was in the mix a lot of the times. There was a few guys in the first period, but for the most part, I found it to be very much milquetoast across the entire 60 minutes. Nobody really was like, oh, wow. Malinski, and we'll talk about him in a bit.
He's about the
Malinski
only
looked
one.
really good yesterday. Aside from that, though, I wasn't overly enthused.
Again, I sent my rant earlier. You know what I mean? Like, I felt there's a lot of passengers. I felt that it was like, it is what it is. It's an exhibition game on a Sunday night. I mean, that's what it was. And, besides Malinski and stuff like that, I've
Look at their whole forward core, and Eric, one of your favorite phrases is, don't come off the ice feeling like you could have done more. I think all 12 of those forwards feel like they could have done more in that game.
That's my point.
9 shots on goal for the Avalanche, 10 for Utah. This is as close as the game would be.
Yeah.
The second got a little bit in terms of out there and disparity of shots, 2-1 in favor of the Utah Hockey Club. In the third, it was only separated by 1, but at the end of the game, Utah was shooting from everywhere. It was 38-29. That was your shots on goal. We could count the penalties, but there was a ton of them.
Too many.
It ended up being 1-1 after that first. Dylan Guenther, however, on the other side, looked really good for Utah. He would go on to score 2 last night, but Guenther looked good. And Shane's kid, Josh Doan, looked pretty good too. Them
and Clayton Keller were the driving bus for Utah. And some of that is what it is. You look at this lineup that the Avs put out there and you say, yeah, they probably shouldn't look good against the Kellers and the Gunthers of the world. Those are guys that are probably going to play in Utah's top 6 at some point this year. Mm-hmm. But you still, look, we'll get to it. The first period, they kept up. They just couldn't sustain it.
If you're looking at this in the midst of a training camp, and Coach Bednar kind of said it, but you're looking for guys to differentiate themselves, for them to separate yourselves. Take me into the locker room between the periods. Do you say anything at this point if you're Bednar? You're not obviously trying to rah-rah them like it's a regular season. If there are guys you think you need more out of in this situation, are you tapping on them, or are you letting them try to figure it out on their own because you want to see what they do?
A little bit of both. I mean, at the end of the day, he's not going to rah-rah and kick cans in the locker room. I mean, again, like you said, after the first period was fine anyway, but it's more like maybe you single a guy out, like not publicly and not in the locker room, but you say, you send the trainer to go get him, and you come back and say, hey, listen, I want to help you here, but you got to help yourself. You know what I mean? Like the old, help me help you, right? Jerry Maguire. But the way I look at it on the flip side of things, if you can't see the writing, the opening that's there, then maybe you shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is not being negative. It's not. It's hard to be a National Hockey League player, and it's hard to be on top of your game every day, and the pressure that you face, whether you're a McKinnon or the 23rd guy on the roster. But if you're not going to do it, somebody else will. And that's, if you can't see that, then as a coach, it tells you like, I'm not here to babysit. I can't babysit because if I don't get wins, I'm fired. So that's my job, on the line.
Yeah,
and that's my point, like
in a game like this, the coach should not have to say anything to anybody. This is the NHL. If you can't motivate yourself to try and earn an NHL spot, no amount of a coach pulling you aside is going to help you.
Exactly. Well said.
Well, there's just no point in being there at that point, right? Like, you want a team full of alphas and guys that are going to be rah-rah every single night and go get it, and a lot of that merit is earned in a situation like this.
And realistically, it sounds stupid what I'm going to say, but when you're trying to make a team, you're trying to make especially a Colorado Avalanche, a top 5 team in the league, whatever you want to call it, and there are opportunities there, you should attack every day. Like, it's the only thing in the world that matters is for you to make that roster. So you got to leave it all out on practice. You got to leave it out on the ice at a game, every shift. And you just got to show. You got to show that you want to be there. And then you make them make decisions. And then you leave them no choice but to make room for you. But you got to show it. You can't just all of a sudden a week later go down the Loveland and say, yeah, well, I didn't really get my. I mean, one game I played with that guy and I only played 9 minutes, and you can't. That's excuses. You got to go out there. There's no excuses. You got to go and just show that you want them in the coach's office after the game to just talk about you. Mm-hmm. That's the attitude you got to take.
Well, maybe the reason why the Avalanche weren't as go-getting as they were in Dallas is they didn't get enough sleep. And you know what, we talk about this, and we're so happy and so excited to be partnered with UC Health. And Coach Prime, he's digging in with this Ready, Set, Go. And one of his personas is Sleep Prime. And he's talking about making sure that you are getting 8 hours of sleep a night, but getting the right 8 hours of sleep, that restful sleep that only happens when you can calm that mind, calm that body. I know. I'm up late. Oh, Rudo.
I'm looking at Rudo.
Oh, sorry. Rudo. His sleep schedule. I think mine's terrible. His are. Well, we need to talk about that. Coach Prime, I think, is assuredly calling you out on this. Let's
it's
just
not
take
good.
Let's just take a quick here. Do you sleep on sleep? You probably do.
Probably.
All right. Perfect. Do you get 8 hours of sleep? Because
No.
that's the magic number. You don't. Okay, that's 2. That's a negative. Is a good night's sleep a priority for you, Rudo?
No.
Okay. All right. We're going to work on that too. You need to put your phone down when you go to bed. Do you do that, or do you check Instagram and social until it's late?
I mean,
Okay,
it's
we're just-
late when I start
Whoa,
checking socials, maybe.
You got to start to plan that bedtime, buddy, and you got to get those good 8 hours. And Coach Prime is here to help get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state. And the Ready, Set, Go program is what it's designed for. So now I have my two dear friends here. We're gonna work on you with sleep. You are already eating healthy. You're doing a good job, E. We're working on it. He's getting there.
Last
He's
couple
doing
days,
okay.
I felt like
He slipped a little. That's all right.
The prospects.
I'm gonna call Coach Prime and just have him talk to you, or maybe have him pre-record some messages for you. But if you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Go challenge, click on the link in the show notes or go to uchealth.org/Ready, Set, Go. Get yourself back to being the healthiest person you could possibly be, and get Colorado back to being the healthiest state in the country.
All right, look, you might slip with your health sometimes. Everybody does. It happens. But
It happens.
don't be slipping on the roads, all right? Go get yourself a Toyota. 17 different all-wheel drive vehicles with Toyota. They also have 16 different hybrids if you want to be eco-friendly. They have a vehicle for everyone, from trucks like the Tundra to SUVs like the 4Runner. You name it, they've got you covered over at Toyota at any of their local Front Range stores. You can get yourself in the official vehicle of DNVR and the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. Go check out your Front Range stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corbin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. Go get yourself a Toyota.
Thanks, Rudo.
You're welcome.
And I need you to get some sleep tonight, okay, bud?
I'll sleep when I'm dead, bud.
We'll give you a call. We'll come tuck you in, and it'll be good. Everybody's going to be fine.
It's hockey season. You sleep when you're dead.
That is true. That is very, very true. Second period of the DNVR pod underway now. Second period of the Colorado Avalanche game last night is where we will shift our focus to. Pretty evenly played first period, tied at 1, shots on goal just a few apart. The second period, again, started off, the Avalanche scored the game's first goal, and I was like, okay, all right, they're zipping.
Yep.
Same thing happened to start the second period. Malinski, who, as we said, was really good all day, scored a beauty of a goal to make it 2-1 early on in that second period. And he just looked engaged. I mean, he's what you wanted out of a defenseman for that team last night. He was moving, he was vopping, he was flowing. I liked the way that he played last night.
Yeah, Malinski was by far the Avs' best defenseman in that game. Not just goal is awesome. He goes coast to coast.
Sure.
Sweet, great,
Yep.
cool. But it's everything else that he's doing well, too. He's moving pucks effectively. He's been solid in his defensive zone. He knows the Avs system, so he knows how to activate in the offensive zone the way the Avs like. He looks a lot crisper than some of these other guys. And I don't know that he ends up earning the starting spot on opening night, but I also don't know how much more he can do. Through two games that he's played this preseason, for me, he's been the best of that group of the battling for a spot.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. I think Ben, touched upon it yesterday that, maybe 8 guys are going to start the season. We all know 8 guys are going to start the season on the Avalanche roster. Rudo knows, Gizmo, I know. Some guys were shocked in the room to hear that yesterday, and it's like, no one's going on waivers. They're all getting picked up. Whoever's going on. I'm talking about Shillington, Branstrom, DeHaan, Malinski.
Yep.
I'm not worried about McDonald and Rosen. Those are great players. I do believe, again, you cross your fingers that they don't get picked up on waivers, and, it helps with the depth on there. And then Sean Barron's best they've had in years of the depth on the back end. So
they're just not really in the NHL picture.
No. But I mean, I'm saying, even for a call up and an inning or two, they're in great shape. You know what I mean? So now, I'm not worried about having AD. You know what? Everyone's going to play. It's a long year. There's injuries. Knock on wood. They all bring some different. One's a right shot. One is a PK guy. One is a puck mover. They all bring something. And that's why I think they've done a masterful job creating that, protecting themselves because of the unknown up front. So as Malinski's been a little bit the forgotten man a little bit, right? Because DeHaan is new, Brandstrom is new, Shillington is new, and then Malinski's the guy that came in and played 23 games last year. I'm saying 23. I looked it up yesterday. I want to say 23. So, got his feet wet. He's not an 18-year-old, right?
Yep.
25 years, 26 now. All of a sudden, he's a guy that will be able to play. And he will play. And they're all going to play. And they're all going to bring something different. But it was great to see someone that's been a little bit of a pushover for all the reasons. You know what I mean? All the reasons. He's got the least amount of experience. But like you said, those 2 games, it's been fantastic. He put everything out the window, just played hockey the way he's been taught the last year and the way he learned under Schneekloth as well every time in the American League. And he's showing right now that he's like, hey, I want to be here, and he will be here. But he's like, I don't care if you guys talk about everybody else but me, but I'm going to go and do my job, and that's what he's done those 2 games. That's why he stood out.
And Bednar talked about that in the post game. He said, well, yeah, look, Malinski might have an inside track here because he knows our systems. He understands what to do, and we understand him a little bit better than some of these other defensemen on here. And just to dive into them really briefly here, Brandstrom, I've really liked at 5-on-5. I think he fits the Avs systems quite well, but he's really, really struggled on special teams through preseason. Some tough defensive reads on the penalty kill for him.
Yeah, I'll go back to that after. Go ahead.
And Shillington has almost been the opposite of that. I think Shillington's done pretty okay on the penalty kill, but some of his puck reads at 5-on-5 have been tough this preseason.
Malinski was go back to Malinski in a minute, but Shillington was -4 in 19 minutes of ice time last night in 24 shifts.
5-on-5 was rough for him.
It was rough, but go back to the special teams like you were saying. Remember Druin, remember Middlestat. It takes time to get adjusted to a new, especially if you're Brandstrom. He's been in Ottawa last year. They play a certain way. They do a certain amount of things. Sometimes it just takes you a little bit of time, and that's why the preseason games are good for you to get, again, it's like working out. It's never the same until you actually go and skate and then get a back skate. And then you're like, oh, my God, I don't know why I worked out because I feel like death. You know what I mean? But it's the same thing for those players. You know what I mean? You can look at a board and the dry erase and look at video. Then until you go out there and do it and your brain processes it, smart player, he will figure it out. And same thing with Shilly. He's going to figure it out at 5-on-5. And those guys that's why they're playing a lot more games right now than some of the guys, obviously, the Girards and Manson. And that's why those guys are out there.
Just to talk a little bit more about Malinski, just so you have all of his, and I'm not a huge numbers guy all the time. I won't be, but
that's my job. It's fun.
Differential last night was big. I mean, Malinski had a goal, assist, 2 points, played 19 minutes. 25 shifts. His goal came on the power play. 2 shots, 2 blocks, 2 hits. Only 1 giveaway. I mean, that's pretty solid numbers for a guy that you're looking to kind of sort of step up a little bit.
Yeah, I think Malinski has done everything within his own power to earn as much as he can. And the Toyota chat's talking about a little bit. The reality of the Avs lineup is DeHaan is kind of penciled in as one of those bottom pairing guys because of his defensive acumen. So it really looks like it might be Malinski, Brandstrom, and Shillington kind of battling for one spot. And Eric, you said it. They're going to rotate.
Yeah, everyone's going to play.
It's not like this battle is going to be decided on the opening night of the season or anything. And
listen, we talked about this a little bit. If y'all want to check out in the next day or so here, our our preview of each position for the Avs. We broke down the forwards, the goaltenders, and the defensemen. We talked at length about kind of how this 8 is going to fit. So we can deep dive that a little bit more in that defensive preview video that the three of us just did a little bit earlier today. That should be up in the next 24 hours. But yeah, DeHaan is going to bring a different element. Yeah, there's a lot of chatting about where he will sort of fit. DeHaan brings a different style to this defense. He's going to be offensive, but what he's not going to be is physical. Like he doesn't play. He's not going to have those big hits, but he can pressure and force and take away just by being present. Exactly. Yeah, and that's what he does, and he's really good at it. He doesn't have to throw his body around a ton, but he can pressure opponents and force turnovers just because of how nimble he is and how well he moves.
Coaches will appreciate him. He knows how to play. And you can't teach experience. You can't. I don't care what people say. You can't teach experience. A little bit like Jack. He's going to find his way in. There's a comfort. It's a comfort blanket. It's your blanket, right? I
love a good blanket.
For Prater and those guys. And listen, Nolan Pratt's a smart guy too. When I say you need a security blanket, it doesn't make you a bad coach or a dummy. I'm just saying that you can't teach experience, and they all bring something different. And again, we say it. All of them are going to play. It's got to be situational to what team they're playing. Ben already talked about that a few weeks ago. You're playing a heavier set team. You're playing a team that has got a dangerous power play. Then you might lean towards the guy that brings the best penalty killing of all those people that are there. You can't have everybody the same. They can't all be the same on the back end. Then you're going to have issues. That's why I talk about Josh Manson all the time about my whiskey drinker. Meaning, he's the whiskey drinker of the back end. He's the guy that's physical, that's different, that unpredictable between the two blue lines. So I like the fact that those two new guys, they're all a little bit different.
And let's be real about a third pairing role. Yes, to play Colorado Avalanche hockey, you need a certain skill level of puck moving ability. But a third pairing role in the NHL, it's more important to not get beat than it is to create.
Well said.
Toyota chat blowing up on a couple of different things. And by the way, love the interaction, and it's been so fun meeting all y'all. A couple things we'll focus on. First of all, to Profound Narwhal, AJ is not here, but AJ is never leaving us. So you can still expect the same contributions from AJ. He'll chime in on the pods here and there. But yeah, we got our boy. He's still hanging around. And then the physicality is a great question. This is one thing that I have always said even before I was covering this team when I was with NHL Network the last few years. My only thing that I've said about the Avalanche is goaltending and physicality.
Yep.
So yes, I do think. Now I say that, and I just went on a rant about Calvin DeHaan not being physically physical, but he can achieve what he needs to do without physically having to blow guys up in corners or rob Blake hip checks in open ice and just murdering guys. But in a general sense, yeah, I think the Avs could be a little bit more physically tough.
And again, I'll say it again. I've said it before. I think, Rudo, you know where I'm going to go with this. About my playing days. Like, I would have to say one of the toughest guys to play against I've ever played against. I don't think I ever laid a body check on anyone. Maybe you've never heard of him, and I'll give praises to the Detroit Red Wings, Nicholas Lidstrom.
Right.
Never seen a guy break plays like that.
Right.
Didn't need to be physical. Was always in the right place. His stick. And we used to be like, let's dump pucks in his corner. And then all of a sudden we'd realize, what are we doing? Let's dump pucks in the other corner. We don't want him to have the puck. It's impossible to freaking hit or get back. You know what I mean? So for me, being physical, yeah, it's one thing. But, at the end of the day, if you have your stick in the right lane, if your body's in the right position, if your mind is reading quickly the reads and everything, you're going to be effective in this league. And that's what the Avs are. For the most part, all the guys that are going to be on the roster all have those attributes. Of course, I'm not talking Nick Lidstrom style of attributes, but you're talking about some good players, some guys that being physical. Again, I'll say I'll use Sammy G. I like that point. Sammy G is one of my favorite players. He would play on 32 teams in the National Hockey League. Yeah, but if you're judging Sammy G on battling in front of the net, then you're a moron, because that's not what he brings. And then everybody has to. I get it, and he's doing his best sometimes, but it's a size difference. But what he brings outweighs that, part of that game that very seldomly, SAT word, get stuck in front of the net like that.
The way Sam Girard plays defense is if the puck made it to the net front, it's already too late.
That's my point.
And just to reinforce your point here, when we talk about physicality, yeah, everyone thinks of the big booming hit, but it's not about that. It's about rubbing guys out along the boards.
Right.
It's about winning corner battles for pucks. And to bring it into last night's game.
Are you marking guys in front of the net?
Right.
Are you making it hard to sit in front of the crease?
And the Avs like to play a limiting game. They like to not give up opportunities in the first place, and a lot of that. And to bring that back into last night's game on the defensive side, Sam Malinski, 1 high danger chance against. He's the best of the bunch. Brandstrom had 2, Behrens and Rosen had 3, Girard had 4, Shillington had 5 against.
There were so many moments last night in the game where you saw mistakes being made in the neutral zone or, on zone exits, out of Avalanche territory when you're trying to make a pass that just isn't there, but you're making a pass because you think that's what you're supposed to do and you're turning the puck over.
Yep.
And that's just inexperience and that's just tentativeness. And then after you make that mistake, now you're not engaging. Now you're not jumping on guys. Now you're sitting back and you're like, oh, I just turned it over. Now I got to wheel back and I got to sit tight. And that's where it just starts to tumble into, oh gosh.
Hey, listen, I know we're not big on plus minus, but
It's a bad stat.
But it's a bad stat. But it's sometimes it's relative to look at the scoring chances. Shilly had 5 against.
Yep.
There's a reason why sometimes you escape it, and that's why it's a bad stat. But sometimes it's in connection.
This
with,
is what I'll say about plus minus. If you're looking up a random plus minus, it's not very meaningful. But a relative plus minus, when you see an Avs team where maybe the team on the whole was usually -1 and Shillington's a -4, you're going, okay, what happened here?
That's what I'm saying. It's relative to those chances.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that second period, and then we'll get into the third period as well. A nice goal by Ritchie, but we got to talk about my guys over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. They've got boosts, they've got power-ups, over 10,000 of those a month. And there's also special ones that are custom for DNVR bets and boosts. I've had an absolute blast with this. I was locked into the not being allowed to sports bet world for quite some time, and I signed up for one of their promos. It was basically, if you sign up, I'll read it to you exactly because it was super cool and I had a ton of fun with it. They have a couple of different offers. The bet and get offer right now is fun. If you place $5 or more, you get $200 in bonus bets. That's what I did. Or you can do this first bet safety net by placing up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you received a match refund in bonus bets. There's going to be a ton of special stuff coming up for the NHL season, including early payouts. So if your team gets up by 3, boom, you already win. So the rest of the game doesn't necessarily matter, even though you're going to be glued to it. Tons of in-game props. Lots of same-game parlays. And what I've had some fun with on sports that I don't really know too well, like I'm not the biggest football guy, let's be honest. I'm focused on hockey. But we all know I am from Detroit, so I threw a little something on my Lions tonight for Monday Night Football. And they suggest really cool same-game parlays
the parlays
for
are sick,
you.
yeah.
So I just, I'm like, all right, well, that looks like a good one. So I clicked on it. I mean, I could win $170 tonight on a $10 bet, and I've already won about $400. So I'm having a ton of fun with Bet365. Listen, it's super easy to do. You don't have to get too into it. You don't have to bet a ton of money. Like I said, I've probably bet $40 and I won around $400. He watches me do it every day, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. But
free money.
Just make sure you remember that whatever the moment is, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and you must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. You or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help or needs help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Make sure you definitely do that because we don't want you getting in trouble. We want you having fun, and have fun responsibly, no matter what you're doing, whether you're gambling or whether you're enjoying a cool, crisp, refreshing Coors Light, Rudo.
Eric, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret on why they don't travel same day here. How many years did you spend in the AHL?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. And you took the bus a lot in the AHL, right? Not a whole lot of flights?
Yeah, but I was in the Maritime Division. We flew a lot, but a little bit of both.
Okay. Either way, on average, how many beers were on your bus in the or plane on the AHL?
There used to be an orange bucket in the back. A lot of ice. and lots of beers, and you could hear the in the back of the bus.
My point exactly. So you can't be drinking too many Coors Lights before the hockey game if you're a player. If you are a fan, pop off. Chillax. Relax with some Coors Light. Enjoy it before, during, after the game. Whenever you need to chill, choose Coors Light. The mountains literally turn blue on the can or the bottle to let you know it's chilled and ready for game time, whatever that might be. It's the beer I reach for all the time. We're doing a watch along for tomorrow's preseason game. You probably see me sipping a Coors Light on that thing. So be sure to tune into that too. And get yourself some Coors Light delivered right to your front door with CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Thanks to Instacart. Of course, when you do drink Coors Light, please party responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Time out. I'm the new guy.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow, the Avs play at home.
They do.
Okay. I will be at the rink.
Yeah, you have to do real work
in
while
the
we
press
party.
box.
Yeah.
And you're going to be here drinking cold, refreshing Blue Mountain Coors Lights.
Correct.
Sorry, pal.
You get to do it with us in the away games.
Yeah. Can you get my agent on the phone, please?
New guy?
I want to talk to you right now.
Again?
It's your rookie lap, buddy.
That's
the new
awkward.
guy.
That is awkward. Hasn't taken my calls for about 2 months now.
That's tough. That's a tough look.
All right. Well, that'll be fun. Make sure you guys come down to the DNVR bar on Colfax. Hang out with my friends that aren't going to be hanging out with me. I will be intrepidly bringing you the
You'll
action.
get in on the away games.
Yeah, I'll get in
all right.
on the away games.
All right.
That's
You
all
get
right.
some of it.
It'll be good. The second period concluded not the way the Avalanche would have hoped for. 3 unanswered goals. Just a lot of breakdowns, and we can just button it up before we move on to the third period, but it was a lot of breakdowns, and it was a lot of just poor decision-making and hasty decision-making by everybody, whether they had pucks or didn't have pucks.
Yeah, a lot of chasing in their own zone.
Very
for sure.
much.
A lot of falling behind the play, and some of that is guys still adapting, still getting adjusted to the Avalanche systems and the NHL speed. But, and I don't want to bury him. Again, this is a preseason game. Don't read too much into this. At least 2 of those got to be saves. It was a tough game for Justus.
Buddy.
Yeah, a knuckle puck.
Yep.
And then the knuckle puck that came in was weird.
Sure. Chalk one of them up to weird.
Okay, fine, but you gotta be on that one.
Nice.
The rebound though in front.
that one's got to be
it's at your
swallowed
feet.
up.
You have
It's got to
know
be
where it's at.
swallowed up.
Guys, I say it all the time. I'm hard on Georgiev. I'll be hard on Justus too. And again, it's not an exhibition game for Justus. It's not. It's you gotta. I'm just saying. You said it earlier. We were talking. You said he's got 20 career games. Yeah,
You're right.
Guess what? When you have 20 career games, you got to strap on those pads and be the best player out there. You can't just blend in. You can't go even on the Gunter one. The first one actually misses his push, and it goes through him. And then the other one, it's an empty netter, but he misses his push completely. He doesn't even go across. He puts his stick across. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. That. Listen, the goalie coach will sit with him and go, hey, listen. And he knows it wasn't. And again, Bednar said it, not his best, right? You know, he was being honest. But you want to make them make decisions. You want to show right now. You got to show, I don't care that it's a preseason game. You leave an impression. And the impression has to be that, oh, yeah, he's dialed in this year. I'm going to put him out there. Right now, it's like, if I'm a coach, I'm still a little gun shy. And then I go back to playing Georgiev all the time and all the time and all the time.
And it looks a lot different with a real NHL lineup in front of him.
100%.
Don't read too much into it.
I
but-
agree with you, but I'm saying you have to go out there, like you said, when you take a shower after the game, did you leave some on the ice, And that's the worst feeling.
Certainly
He
that
left some.
rebound one he's going to want back, for sure.
Yeah, and
There's
he
a
wants
few.
the knuckle puck one back. Too.
I think
wants a
so.
few.
but-
He wants a
third
few.
goal, but-
He wasn't.
There was a question about what they're going to do defensively, offensively. 13 forwards or 7 defensemen. That'll determine the lines. We kind of talked about it already. They're going to go with 8D.
I would be shocked if they even carry a 13th forward, to be honest.
Correct.
I think they want to go 12-6, but I expect at some point they will run 7D.
Listen, everyone knows I don't drink beer, and if on the opening night roster
Is Eric
there's not
about to do a
AD, I
shoey?
will drink a Coors Light out of the shoe. if there's not AD in that. Again, if they're making a trade, that's different. And then all of a sudden, like, something happens. But if your opening night roster does not have AD, I'll drink a beer out of that shoe, and I don't like beer.
The chances of someone getting injured just skyrocketed because of this take.
Goodness gracious.
Again, barring
I'm more
injuries or
impressed.
trade.
Did you see the flip?
It was a nice
He
little.
flipped it right to his hand. I wasn't sure
Dogs
what he was
are
going
off.
for.
It's coming.
We're gonna get to that right now. Not seeing the Ritchie goal. It was good. Let's move on to the third period and talk a little bit about that. It leveled off a smidge in terms of not being so Utah dominated.
Yeah.
There was flashes of energy from the Avalanche, but it wasn't necessarily where we thought it was supposed to be, and it wasn't the best third period. We'll get to the Cal Ritchie goal in a minute, but just why don't we start with just an overview of that third and where your thoughts were there?
Yeah, I mean, unless your name is Cal Ritchie or you're one of the NHL regulars, that lineup did not have the skill to effectively finish on high caliber plays.
Right.
And they went into that third period and lost all the battles.
Right.
So what are you doing out there?
Right.
You can't out-skill him. You can't out-physical him. You're just losing. It's that simple. And you know, some of these guys, does that really matter? Matthew Phillips is not a guy you're expecting to go out there and be physical. He's also a guy you know isn't going to make the lineup. So whatever. But when you look at a Jason Poland, when you look at even someone like a Cal Ritchie, you want to see them, if not win the battles, at least engage a little bit more than they did. And it just was not there in that third period. In the second period, it was even worse, to be honest. But you wanted to see more engagement, for sure.
And that's what I say. In a regular season game, your team's flat. McKinnon's line's not gone. How many times last year did we look at that third line of Colton, Wood, O'Connor, turn games around with some momentum shifts, with a spark plug, with something that changes the game on a dime?
Yeah.
It's not about violence. You know that. I'm not condoning violence. I'm not about fighting. But it's about changing the game a little bit.
Beat
Changing
that guy
the
up
complexity.
yesterday.
It's not about that. It's not about that. But yesterday, if I'm trying to make the team and I'm sitting there, I'm on the bench, I'm like, oh, yeah, but you know what? Look, I'm looking at Colton, those guys. Whatever. I'll just blend in. You're missing the boat. The train's going to go by. And you had a perfect opportunity yesterday of a guy trying to make the team, the roster, to switch the momentum of that game around. They didn't do it. And that's where I got disappointed. And it's not about fighting. It's just about showing that you can be, hey, listen, McKinnon's there to score. McCarr's there to score. If you got to bring something to the table, it's so hard to make the National Hockey League. There's 700 players worldwide. That's not a lot. But you got to bring something to the table. Everybody's good. Everybody works hard. Everybody can shoot a puck. Everybody can score. What do you do to bring that piece and that element that makes you invaluable to the lineup? Mm-hmm. That's where I don't care about the score yesterday. That's where I felt some guys missed the mark.
I do care about the score a little bit. And Eric, you talked about this during the game while we watched it. At the end of this game, Matt Steinberg throws hands. He starts being physical, all that. It was too late. When it's 6-3 with 2 minutes left in a preseason game, nobody cares. Nobody cares about the fight you're throwing down. The game's over. It's just silly, goony stuff. When it was 4-2, if you're trying to spark your team, totally.
Sure.
There you go.
In the last minute, who cares?
Yeah, same language.
Well, all you're trying to do there is, you're trying to differentiate yourself, right? But everybody reads through the two.
Differentiate yourself 20 minutes ago.
Great.
What do you bring to the table?
Right.
That somebody else doesn't. That's it.
I'm with you on all of those points. I think that if you're going to do something like that, and if you're doing it, it's meant to spark something in your team. But at that point, it was mute. Clayton Keller started the scoring in the third.
Yep.
That made it 5-2 at the 6:15 mark. But I really thought that I've been waiting to see a little bit more out of Cal Ritchie. I have been saying it a couple of times, and I like the kid a ton. I do. I think there's a lot of upside, and he's getting more comfortable. The one thing I really wanted to see from him, though, was a little bit more of a shooter's mentality And I feel like through these first few games that I've seen him in, he's very much pass first guy, almost as though he's nervous to step into that role and take the shot. And last night, even though he wasn't necessarily his best game, and there's some things that he really needs to work on, and we're going to talk a lot about Cal Ritchie here in a second, but I like the fact that he shot the puck a little bit more. And as soon as we take this quick pause, I want to get you guys' opinions on exactly where we thought Cal Ritchie's game was and what the expectations will be moving forward. All right, so Cal Ritchie scores a goal, and it was a beauty. So let's start there because I'm a big fan of the highlight. He comes in on a clear-cut breakaway, picks it up, works himself in, and pulls a beauty of a move. It's a fake whiff, gets the goaltender to bite. An NHL goaltender, by the way, and he bites. And then he buries the goal. I think the shocking thing for me was everybody around was like, oh, my God, he just whiffed. I'm like, he didn't whiff.
No,
he did that
was
on
not a
purpose.
whiff.
Like, 100% he did that on purpose. It was a great goal. We later found out, and we'll hear from him in a minute, but we later found out that he's been working on it in practice. He's tried it a couple of times in juniors, and Bednar actually laughed that they saw him do it in practice. Like, did he just whiff on a puck? And then he explained himself. But I liked let's start with the positive. I liked the flash of creativity from Cal.
Yeah, the goal was sick. You want to know why he was drafted in the first round? Watch that highlight 10 times.
Yeah, sick.
The obvious skill is not only to make that move and beat the goaltender, but had to have the wherewithal. Again, this guy's never played in an NHL game.
Yeah.
He gets that puck. He recognizes he has the time to do whatever he wants with that thing, and then he does. Cal Ritchie is a very, very smart hockey player. I think you can see that. I think he sees the game very, very well, and he understands what's happening around him. When you give him the time and space, he's got as good a hands as anybody.
I agree with you. And again, you watched a lot more Cal Ritchie and juniors than I did, right? As you know, I mean, you watched him a ton. As far as your point about making a pass first, I don't think you're going to change the hockey player that he is. There's guys that are,
he's a playmaker.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And he's going to feel his way in what works and what doesn't work. Again, we'll talk about him a little more here on giveaways and lose puck possession in the offensive zone. But what he does have, with all the holes that the Avalanche have coming up, the uncertainty of again, we're not going to go back to Val and all those things and Gabe and Lehkonen. He brings a certain skill set that is above average. Everybody has a skill. Jason Pullen scored 30 goals in college. College hockey is a good league. He scored 30. He's a good player. He's got skill, right? Everyone has skills. Ritchie is above average. That's why he's a first-round pick. That's why he's a silver spooner, right? And that's what makes him an option with the situation the Avalanche are in, with the handcuffs that have been put on CMAC and the rest of the coaching staff in the front office. He is different than the others because he has that skill set. And you saw that on that goal. But we were laughing, Rudo. I was saying I would have done that and pretend to shoot and whiff on the puck, and I actually would have whacked the puck and shot it in the corner, and I would have been like, what am I doing? Then when I had to go back and go, but you don't understand. I was trying to fake the shot, and and they'd be like, oh my God, what are you doing? I can only imagine Mark Crawford friggin' yelling
Just
at me.
sit down there, Eric.
Have a seat.
Sit down there.
What the hell were you doing? So I would have never had the kahunas to do that, I'll tell you that. But I'll tell you one thing. He's got the skills.
Yeah.
That's what's going to differ. Now he has to. You learn that all the time. He has to learn how to play hockey. And junior hockey is, you don't know how to play hockey. The NHL is a tough league. He's going to have to, and Bednar said it, learn quickly. If I ask you, because I'm curious, what was his numbers on when he was on the ice 5-on-5? Like, do you have them quickly?
I can pull them up really quick.
You can pull them up. I just was curious because he got eaten a little bit. Well, he got eaten alive a little bit in parts of the game, right? You know what I mean? And I'm just curious,
37% Corsi for. Okay. Tied for worst on the team in possession numbers.
Again, you need the eye test to see it. You see the numbers are backing it up. It all makes sense,
They're going to give him some opportunity, and Bednar talked about it a little bit, and we'll talk about his move potentially to the wing, which is where he's probably going to start the season. But before we get too far away from it, it was nice to see the young guy smiling a bit when asked about a very sick move in an NHL game. This is what Cal had to say post-game yesterday when we talked to him about that goal.
Just overall, good moments and teaching moments. Just
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know, ups and downs. I didn't think I had my best game, obviously, but I don't know, you learn from it and you move on. I'll look at the game, watch my clips, watch my shifts and stuff like that, and try to work on, see what I can do better. A lot of it's going to be defensively. And then, yeah, it's a tough outcome tonight.
Cal, apologies if it was already asked, but the move you made to score the goal, intentional?
Yeah.
Talking to you that you've done that before?
Yeah, I just started doing it this summer. I just thought maybe I was trying to make it, I don't know, I was trying to do a move where it looks like I'm fanning on it so the goalie bites really hard. So I'm just working on it a bit this summer, so it worked out well.
Success.
Yeah, thanks.
How have you been feeling through camp? It's been about a week and a half, 2 games. Are you feeling more comfortable? Or?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable. Obviously it's a big difference from the OHL, but learning every day. I feel like I'm improving a lot every single day. So it's awesome just being around all these guys and the coaches and stuff. You're learning so much. So having a great time so far.
Nice to see him smiling. He got a kick out of it. He was glad that somebody asked him about it. I was surprised. I got to that a little bit late, and I was surprised it wasn't the first question they asked him. But it was nice to hear him, and it was nice to see him upbeat a little bit. But in the post-game presser, Bednar did praise, but did not overpraise, and was also very cautious about advising that there are things that he needs to work on and improve on and needs to do so quickly. And I think that that's coach's way of saying, hey, bud, let's go. There's things I want you to do and need you to do. And I think a lot of that's going to start on the wing this year.
Bednar will be honest. He was honest yesterday.
He's
and
all,
again, Rudo just pointed out the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Eye tests don't lie. The one thing he's going to be given, and I say it all the time, I mean the respect of the word silver spooner that I use all the time. He will be given an opportunity. I'm convinced of that because he brings a different skill set. But in order to do that and be given that opportunity, you're going to have to learn how to play the game the right way. And it's not the Bednar way. It's the right way. And I think that it will come with time. It comes with experience. That's why you're going to see him play a lot more of those exhibition games right now and then see what you got and then make a decision on them.
Couple things I want to touch on. Game ends 6-3. The final goal was an empty netter, fisticuffs at the end, yada, yada. Briefly, before we move on, is there anything that you boys else want to touch on from last night's game?
Yeah, I wanted to add a little bit on Ritchie, and this is going to be the part of the show where people don't like me. But
it's not possible.
It comes up a couple times every year. I always say this. Do not be a highlight scout. Do not watch only the highlights and think you know everything about the player. If we're being honest, yeah, goal was awesome. Great skill from Ritchie. I thought he had some other good shifts in the offensive zone where he saw the ice well. That was not a good game for Cal Ritchie by any stretch of the imagination. Way too many shifts in the defensive zone where he gets lost or he's just floating, not engaging in battles enough. There needs to be more there. As Bednar put it kindly in the post game, he's going to have to learn quick because I think we all believe he's going to start this year in the NHL.
Yes.
But if he plays a couple of regular season NHL games floating around like that, he's not going to be here for very long this year.
Correct. And yes, does he play all 9? I don't know. It's going to be real up to him. Does he play past 9? He'll need to be exponentially more impressive than he was yesterday.
And again, here's what I'll preach, and I'll say it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Hopefully everybody listens the right way here. The toughest thing to achieve as a young player in the National Hockey League is what, Rudo?
Consistency.
Thank you. I say it all the time. It's the biggest thing. And you can say I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be consistent. But to achieve it is really tough. It's a deadly league. It will bite you in the butt. You fall asleep for half a second, you cause a game. You fall asleep for half a second, you change the outcome of a period. You sleep for half a second, you're out of the lineup. It is hard. It is hard, and it requires a lot of concentration. It requires a lot of applying yourself. And they're so used to cheating the game in juniors because it's so easy, and they'll go and get out of the game, play the wrong way, and get 5 points. It doesn't work that way in the NHL, and that's why it's tough.
You were kind of vibing Al Pacino there in Any Given Sunday. I felt like that was the game of inches speeches there.
I thought you were talking about Scent of a Woman.
No. No, we'll talk about that later. That's fair.
That was the goal.
We'll hide that behind
the goal was the
ooh-ah. Yeah. A couple other quick things. Oh, boy.
I just wanted to say, just to reinforce your point.
Yes.
Moving him to the wing does take a little bit of that defensive pressure off of him as a forward at the NHL
But
level.
it adds pressure because he's never played the wing.
He's going to have to learn how to
figure it
battle
out.
along the boards, for sure. But it's not, if he misses an assignment in the defensive zone, it's not, oh, God, there's a dude open in the slot.
Way easier that. Way easier there.
Two things quickly. Only about 5 minutes left. I think we'll spend a little bit of time on the last one. The game tomorrow, Vegas comes to town. Last preseason home game for the Colorado Avalanche. Two very good crowds thus far at both games. Game one impressed me. The game yesterday really surprised me. Good for you, Avs fans, by the way. Pretty impressed. Tomorrow, I gotta think it's a full send lineup.
McKinnon's yet to play a game. McCarr's yet to play a game. Mikko's yet to play a game. Druin's yet to play a game.
Taser.
Today's yet to play a game. The only guy in the top half of the lineup is Middlestat. That's really played. I guess Gerard played last night, but yeah, and it's a national game. They're gonna send the boys.
Full send tomorrow. So if you don't have tickets yet, grab them. If you can't get tickets, don't want tickets, come here and hang out at the DNVR bar on Colfax. The boys are going to be partying with you with a little watch action. They'll have incredible specials. If you've never been here, the place is unbelievable. There's TVs everywhere. The food is insane. The help is great. Staff, just listen, let's go. If you want to watch, if there's no better place to watch an Avalanche game in Denver other than Ball Arena than the DNVR bar. So I would highly suggest coming down and checking out here with the boys. It's going to be a ton of fun. But yes, I would expect a full send lineup tomorrow.
Hey, listen, at some point, I'm of the old school where you play your guys at home on those preseason games.
Why
and
not?
then maybe play them the last game.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they'll have played 2 games. There's some guys play 1, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I do believe you got to play a game just to get your brain back into it. It does wonders. It does wonders. When the drop of the puck comes in Vegas, right, opening night, not at home, but on the road, it's going to be like, you got to bring your intensity up, you know what I mean? And then when you've seen it a little bit in preseason, it's not the same as seeing it in practice. And I know coaches love the intensity of practice. No, I get that, but it's not the same as battling against somebody with a different sweater on, But I do believe tomorrow you'll see some, again, maybe we're wrong, but I would anticipate seeing some people there. But you are right. I'm looking forward to this year actually interacting with people at the bar. It's awesome. We love Chef Rob down there, and then it's fun to see people here. Chef. I love it. I watch alongs with Rudo. Wasn't sure what to expect last year. I was like, what's he talking about? What is that? And I love it. He knows that. I mean, I love it. It's way more fun than actually watching the game and not having a watch along. We do get down when there's no watch along because whatever conflicts because of a schedule. But
I just want to take my tarp off, man.
He takes his tarps off. I take my shoes off. We go and it's fun and it's
Hockey players
interacting
very naked most of the time.
Yeah, interacting with the chat. It's fun. It's awesome. It's such a fun way. This year we'll bring the board out sometimes and just kind of argue and show in between peers what happened in those goals and have some fun with it. And I think it's fun to interact with people, and I think that no better way than to watch along or to come down to the bar and interact with those guys. And it's been fun at Ball Arena, though. People are stopping everybody and say, oh yeah, watch the show. It's fun. It's fun to interact with people that are passionate. No more passionate people than AJ, Rudo, obviously guys that have been here for a long time, and glad to have Gizmo on board now. And we always have Yaya or Tiff behind, and everybody. So it's been fun. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the Avs season. Not that it's a rant about the Avs season, but oh boy, it's fun. I think some people are going to push them over a little bit, initially, like, oh, they're not going to be good this year. And I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people, and that core is marvelous. So I expect lots of good things. All
right, Wayne, yes, games on national TV, TNT, True and Max covering that tomorrow. You can get that puck drop 7:30 Mountain Time. Gonna run out of time, unfortunately. One other thing I wanted to get to, I didn't get to it at the beginning, was the news of the day. Things heating up in Boston. I'm going to need just very quick thoughts from both of you on it before we run out of time here in about 30 seconds or so. But basically Cam Neely calling out Swayman, saying there's 64 million reasons why you should be playing. The Boston Bruins have made a $64 million offer. Apparently that's not good enough for Sway.
I don't see a quick resolution there. Whenever your ownership is there and the GM and the president is there and then you're calling out a player, I'm not saying I like it or don't like it. I'm saying when it gets to that, I don't see anything quickly being resolved, and I think that you're going to see a guy sitting out for a while right now. That's my thoughts.
Goalie should stop puck. Goalie should not contract negotiate.
That's the best 5 seconds of this entire pod. Make sure you're checking us out tomorrow. We'll have coverage for you from Morning Skate. Eric and I will be there with Hockey in the Rockies. We'll catch you up on absolutely everything that happens. We'll have some player sound for you. And then, of course, it's watch-along party and then a full post-game tomorrow. After the fact, I will be at the rink. The boys will be here at the DNVR bar on Colfax. Watch party happening. Cruise on down. Enjoy some drinks with the guys. Get to know them. Say hello. I'll be chiming in on the post game afterwards, and looking forward to what I think is going to be the most NHL of NHL games we've seen since the end of last season tomorrow from Ball Arena when the Vegas Golden Knights come into town, and I'll have to make sure I pop over to the opposing press box and say hi to my friends. That's it for us today. Thank you so much for all of you tuning in. Wonderful job in the Toyota chat. Thanks for being so interactive. Big thank you to all of our friends here, our producer Yaya. We've got a new intern, Kelsey. She's hanging out with us. Thank you to her. She's back there learning the dials, getting to talk a little bit, having some fun. And of course to my partners, Rudo, AJ, and Big A. I'm Gizmo. Bye now. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.